Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today's focus, we're going to talk about how to grow your business and help more people. We're joined by Richard Albanese here, founder and owner of Albanese Physical Therapy. He's a business owner and active member of his community in New Brighton, Pennsylvania. He's also been with Practice Promotions here since 2021, and he's very passionate about helping people learn about PT so they can get out of pain and get back to their lives healthy. So, Rich, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on here.
Thanks, Neil. I'm glad that you honored me and to be a part of your show today.
Yeah. So I love working with Rich and his team there. So, Rich, we got a lot of clinic owners out there, and sometimes they're a little shy about marketing their practice. So they think if they just do, good work, the name recognition, people will just come to them. So what do you think about that?
Well, that was my philosophy for a long time. Do good work and they'll show up. And the thing is I think pretty much every therapist that practices physical therapy thinks they're the best therapist. And they all try to depend on their reputations to get that business in.
Mm-hmm.
But no one gets that word.
Right.
So, like, how do you tell them you're the best?
Yeah. Everybody provides quality physical therapy, right? So that's the thing, right? Is that everybody is really good at what they do, right? But it's as you were just mentioning, like it's not necessarily just about just name recognition and providing awesome care and getting people really good results. Like that's a big part of it, but from a marketing standpoint, that doesn't get you, the growth that you need in your business.
Yeah, exactly. And when you rely on that, your schedule fluctuates at all times. You can't prove to people that you're the best therapist if they're not coming in to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
So I'm just curious for you, like what changed with that philosophy for you? Like what was that pivotal moment that made you think differently?
well, as I reached my 50s, I realized that when it's all said and done and I want to retire, that my practice really isn't worth anything to anybody. So I started thinking about the prospect of, okay, when I retire, I'm just going to shut the door and walk away and come away with nothing. And so we all put the blood, sweat, and tears into our practice, and then you go, well, why did I do that at the end of the day? Why didn't I just work for somebody? I didn't get anything out of this, and so that was an aha moment for me to start rethinking how I ran my business and make it worth something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've had that same situation when I was in my practice, and you have that realization, like, oh, it's if it's just all me, right? It's all about me, then I've got nothing to sell, right? And it provides you the income while you're doing it, but the goal is provide income while you're doing it and grow that income. But then it's also an asset that you're building, right? That business is an asset that you can sell to someone else for a multiple of what you've been making in it. So the better that's dialed in, the more valuable it becomes. And I've always heard things like, the more removed you are from the business, the more valuable it becomes, right? So for you, in that sense, from a marketing standpoint, what made you say, okay, I've got to think about more about marketing, or what do I need to do about marketing my business?
Yeah, so that moment came around 2018, 2019, and so I had been, seeing different programs out there that help market practices and help you learn how to be an owner. So I decided to take a leap of faith and I joined Breakthrough Physical Therapy Marketing, Chad Madden's group, just to learn something, learn how to market, how to fix the leaks that I have in my practice. And for me, someone who wasn't really making a big profit, that was a huge decision for me, because here I am not really making a profit, and they're asking me to spend, invest $10,000 into something that I wasn't sure was going to work.
Mhm.
But it did. It got me moving on the right track and got me thinking about different avenues to grow the practice. And so through the first year or so, I was able to get my return on back on that investment. So those were the light bulbs that were starting to kick on for me.
Excellent. Yeah, great group. And I think for the, like you said, there's different programs out there. The key thing is doing something, right? Because if you don't do anything and if you continue to do what you're doing, you can't expect a big change in your business. And so, kudos to you for looking at that and making that decision. Like, hey, I have to change. I have to do something different here. And marketing is an area that I'm not that familiar with, but I need outside help. I need expert help to make that better for me. So, yeah, that's a great experience that I think a lot of our audience shares out there is that they I think it's one of our traits as PTs is that we're problem fixers, right? We're born to fix problems. We're trained to fix problems, and so we think we can do it all ourselves, right? And I've definitely learned along the years that I can't do it all myself. And it's about finding the right people that can help you get it right, right, and learn from what they're doing. So for you, like, what is your goal of marketing in your practice?
Obviously, it's to get patients in the door. That's that's number one. But it becomes more than that, because as you touched on before, like, physical therapists are really not great business people. We're not marketers, and we've done a really bad job at promoting our field or our profession. And when you look at the other end of, like, how chiropractors approach there, they've done a fantastic job at
Mhm.
promoting themselves and being the first line of care. And so how do you overcome that? Well, you can't do I can't do it all. I can't be the voice of all physical therapists across the country, but I can start doing my part. And so it starts with marketing, getting patients at the door, showing the value that you have as a professional healthcare giver. And over time, I've seen where, particularly with the advent of direct access, that allows me to educate people,
Mhm.
that they can come straight into my office. And then you can start building your portfolio
Yeah.
to these patients. And yeah, there's been times where people come in and be like, I didn't know you did all this. I just always went to a chiropractor. Can I come to you next time?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my goal, is, get people in the door and promote our profession at the same time, and continue to help people get better.
Yeah, excellent goal there. And you and I have been in this field for a long time, right? We've seen a lot of changes happen over the decades. And I think it has especially in the physical therapy world, like it has evolved, it has changed in terms of people knowing more about to go see a PT, but we're still kind of not as recognized for like what we can actually help people with. And so I always say, like, if you pulled someone over on the street and you talk to them and you ask them, have they heard of physical therapy? They'll say yes. And if you ask them what a physical therapist does, they probably won't give you the answer that you're looking for there. So you have, from a marketing perspective, you have to work within the confines of what the public knows about your industry, right? So, like you said, in chiropractic, phenomenal job of really marketing themselves as the experts in spine, right? So, if you ask someone on the street, who would you go see if you hurt your back? A lot of people are going to say chiropractor, right? And that's just because of the public relations and the marketing that's happened over the decades for positioning them in that field. So I do think that there's a lot of opportunities for practice to go direct to consumer, more so than ever in the past. I mean, when I started, you had to have a referral from a doctor. Like, you couldn't treat them without it. But that's changed a lot over the years, right? With direct access, like you're mentioning. So, whether you're a PT, whether you're a chiropractor, it's like there's a lot of people in the community that are looking for help, and they don't necessarily think also about what treatment option that they would go with. They're just looking for, how can I fix my pain, right? How can I fix my issue? So the more that you can become the thought leader in that particular issue in your community, right, by providing great information online, events, ways that you connect with people, the more they see you as the right person to go to for that particular problem. And you want to pick the ones that are most common, right? Backs, necks, shoulders, and knees, right? That's what the majority of people have pains and issues with. So that's one thing that I've seen. I love that that's your goal for marketing your practice there. So, and so for you, Rich, what would you say brings you the most excitement and passion in your work?
Oh, it's definitely the aha moment when a patient realizes that you can help them.
Mhm.
So Stephanie, the other therapist, and I that work out of this practice, we both have certifications in orthopedic manual therapy. So we can make an immediate impact on somebody the first time we treat them, and they're like, "Wow, you just did this. It didn't hurt. It took you 5 minutes, and I'm feeling better already. Like I can't believe I can lift my leg up higher, or my back doesn't hurt when I move my hip around." And so that's really exciting when that happens. And you know, continuing to achieve more education and more skill just betters that program, or betters that treatment. And you get more raging fans once you
Mhm.
start being able to do that.
Yeah, and then so has that, obviously that's your fundamental why, right? Like you'd love to
Yeah.
help people change, right, and improve for the better. And that, from a practice owner standpoint, has that evolved over time too? Has that changed in terms of your passions?
Yeah, so ironically, the thing that I hated most about my practice was the business side of it. And as my marketing and focus on being an owner has evolved, now I'm seeing that I'm getting excited about seeing the practice grow and what can I do to keep it going. So that's not really a feeling that I ever thought I would have. But um, there at some point in your career, and every business owner is just ready to throw in the towel at some point. You get those fluctuations in schedules, and you wake up stressing about, like, how many patients am I going to have today, or what's this month going to look like. To now I'm stressing about how can I handle what I have, you know, which is a much better problem to
It
have.
is a different problem to have for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to plan for growth. Yeah, it's just there's times when it's stressful, but it's better than wondering where the money's going to come from, where the patient's going to come from. Yeah, and that's funny because, like, if I look back on my career, right, and similar passions, right, love helping people, like I still do, of course, and I like the treatment aspect of it was always so much fun. And I thought by getting better and better skill set just in the PT realm, I would make me a better practice owner. My practice would be more successful. And it did help to a certain extent because you got a bit of a reputation for helping difficult cases, but it's not going to help you scale, right? It's not going to help you go beyond what a small practice can do. And so, I did have those realizations where I needed to invest more in my own skills, right, as a business owner, right, and learn more about business and marketing. And I mean, I look back and you kind of laugh at the things that you did to get started. I always remember, like, our bright idea was to go put door hangers on local apartment complexes, right? And I remember when we first started, we didn't have much money, so we're cutting fruit platters to take down to the local, physician in the same building, and try to network, right? And so you do what you do to get going, but then you learn, hey, there's better ways to do things with that, and certainly from the business aspect too. How do you handle personnel, and how do you handle the finance of the business? There's a lot of school of hard knocks, right, that you go through as being a business owner. But again, the more you can invest in learning from others at that skill set, the better you'll have more control.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
That so let's kind of talk about your marketing here. What kind of tools or strategies have you used over the years to help you with your business?
So probably what most outpatient therapists did was go visit doctors and bring them lunches and have meetings and sit around in an uncomfortable situation and spend 2 minutes with the doctor and hope that they throw a few referrals your way for the lunch and
Mhm.
but that ship sailed now. So the hospitals own every doctor, and if they don't own the doctor, their doctors own their own PT clinic. So you're getting some bones thrown at you once in a while because of previous relationships, but you're not getting that consistent that growth in. So that was the main one that I used. So I tried advertising, newspapers, but that didn't really work. You had to hit the right person at the right time with the right message, and the return on investment wasn't great there. See what else did I use? I tried doing my own email marketing, but I
Mhm.
found that to be pretty inconsistent and not effective. I have had a little success with workshops, but for some reason, my in my area, they're not super receptive to workshops. So it was, maybe getting
Kind of
two or
curious,
three patients.
did you see that change after COVID? Like even like virtual workshops and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't even delve into the virtual workshops, but but yeah, I never really thought about that, but I did have more success prior to COVID with the workshops than I do now. I mean, I email my past patient list and send out flyers with my newsletters, and I might get 3 or 4 responses, and then 2 show up, and yeah, so um, none of that has been very effective for me. I know it's effective for other people, but other clinics have great success with the workshops. I don't know if it's because of the area that I'm in, or why that doesn't work, but
Yeah, sometimes that can be the case, right? It's always about the right message and the style of marketing to your particular audience. So, like, what works in downtown New York is not going to work in rural Alabama, right? It's just different, right? You have to adjust to your market and your audience for that. So, some people, would do very well with a virtual event, a virtual webinar or something, maybe in New York City, right? But that might not work very well in Alabama, and they might want a bit more like in-person meet at the local church, for a workshop or something. So yeah, you're right. It is very different by location for that, and you have to do what works best in your area. Um,
right.
and so which tools have you, from a marketing perspective, which tools have you then found to be the most effective for you?
I'm gonna toot your horn here because newsletters have been by far the most successful marketing practice that I have added to my marketing. The consensus out there is print marketing's dead. It doesn't work. Everything has to be digital. Um, but then I started thinking about something that I learned in breakthrough physical therapy marketing was that Chad had said, "Well, your big companies send out print material. Why do you think they do that?" And so that got me thinking. I'm like, what? When I buy stuff online, some of those companies still send me catalogs.
Mhm.
And I like getting those catalogs. I like looking through them because it's more palpable
Yeah.
to see that, and it keeps that company top of mind. And so that's kind of how I look at newsletters. I started thinking about that. I go, well, okay, let's give this a try, and it worked. You know, why wouldn't the newsletters work for me if they're working for these big companies?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a great philosophy, and it's something we try to tell practice owners all the time is that you need to reach. So first off, if you ask most practice owners, what are you doing to market to your customer list? They kind of laugh because they're really not doing much. They might send an email, newsletter, or something, maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter, and maybe a birthday thing here or there. So they're really not using the best asset in their business, which is the people that like and love them, right? Their customers. And if someone you saw 2 years ago, don't assume that they're just going to come back in. I mean, you've got to keep that connection going. You've got to show them that you're there to help them to help their friends and family with, getting better. So everybody's in a busy world, right? And so, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind until it's significantly bad enough where you might remember to go back to the place that you went to 3 years ago. But let's face it, most of our patients don't come back in until it's really bad, right? That's where you got to like push them a little bit to come back in before it gets to that level. And that's where marketing comes in. And that's where newsletters are very powerful. And so, well, it's found too that the newsletter is just a way for you to tell the stories from within your clinic. You have amazing stories. People connect with stories. And so if you're able to have a platform where you're telling the stories from within your clinic consistently to your customer base, they stay connected with you, right? It stimulates them to think about sending friends and family. So you want to have as many, if you have that platform of a newsletter, you want to get that out in as many ways as possible, right? And so how can we send it out via email? How can we put it up on our social media? And what most people don't realize is that print is very, very effective. In fact, even more effective today than it was years ago because everybody's in the digital world and they don't pay attention to digital stuff quite like they do the stuff in their mailbox, right? And know your audience too, right? So if you have a very, you know, sports medicine clinic and you're seeing a lot of teenagers and, very young adults, athletes, man, maybe print's not the best thing for you. But most people going to PT are generally 35 and over, right? And so they're much more used to reading, having things, catalogs in the mail. And so it is one of those mediums, those tools that's very effective and actually has a neurologically different impact on people than reading something on a screen. So that's awesome to hear that that's worked for you.
Yeah.
So what do you think make that successful for you? Those kind of tools and strategies.
Um, I think the number one issue is consistency. You know, I've never, as I mentioned before, never been real consistent with any type of marketing that I've done. So the newsletters offer that consistency because they're coming in, every month. They're getting my name in front of them every month, along with the education that I mentioned before, where I'm constantly educating people on direct access. So when they get that newsletter and they're having a little weight campaign, they're like, "Oh yeah, Rich told me I can just come and see him," and so I get those calls much sooner now.
Mhm.
And they're getting away from the traditional, PCP, medication, X-rays didn't work, try PT.
Yeah, like that.
you
That's
know,
good.
and plus they're getting passed along. And the funny part is that I noticed, like, after I started sending them out, people were coming up to me on the street like, "Hey, I got your newsletter." Yeah. I've never done any kind of marketing that, the people talked about to me on the street, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's resonating with people, and I think they're making more of a connection when they get that.
hmm Yeah, I love that, and I think one thing to just understand is that people it takes repetition of message. And statistically, it's like 7 to 10 times of seeing a message before you actually think about doing something. So if you send a one-time newsletter and expect that to have an amazing result, that's not going to happen, right? If you send a round of emails and you expect like a significant amount of those people to click for an appointment, it doesn't work like that, right? You have to have repetition. You have to be consistent with it. And so people see that your name, even just the branding part of it, even just seeing, Albanese physical therapy over and over and over again, it clicks. And it's always about being at the right time in the right place. So someone may not, your marketing might arrive, that email might arrive, that newsletter might arrive, whatever might arrive, and they're doing okay that day. Like it's not that bad. But guess what? Tomorrow flares up, right? And they're like, oh man, I should really do something about this. But what if your email arrives on that day, right? Or your newsletter arrives on that day? There's a higher probability of them doing something. So it's all about the right time, the right place. But you don't know that in their lives. That's why you have to be consistent in your messaging and just be there when you can be, so that they're going to pop. And I always tell people this, that in marketing and sales, it's like popcorn, right? So you got to have enough kernels in your pan there, right? And you got to have enough heat on it, but you don't know who's going to pop when, right? But you got to keep the heat going, and they will start to pop. If you take the heat off, you're not going to get the popcorn, right? So that's the key to repetition. So I'm curious to know, like, what kind of impact has that had, that kind of marketing in your business growth?
Oh, it changed everything. Um, I relied on word of mouth. We talked about that before, and inconsistent marketing, and we talked about that earlier. Word of mouth is great, but you have to have the right message to the right person at the right time. And so if you're relying on that, or that person that has an ache of pain didn't talk to somebody that saw me, they're not getting in the door. They're finding themselves going somewhere else, or just searching, and maybe they end up here, maybe they're not by chance. It's hard to say. So my practice is in a small town, and it's a small practice, and I always thought, man, if I could just average 200 visits a month, I'd be doing great, and so I sent out those. You said I started with 2021. I think my first full year utilizing newsletters was 2022, because I think it started towards the end of 21. And that first year, I started seeing less fluctuations in my schedule. I got to the averaging about 197 visits per month. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting close to my goal. I'm real close.
Mhm.
The following year, 23, last year, my practice grew by 30%.
Nice.
And I averaged 252 visits a month. Added a therapist to my clinic. And I really didn't do anything else from a marketing standpoint, other than the newsletters. That's the only thing I did.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I love to hear those success stories. And like you said, it gives you more peace of mind when you know that there's consistency in your schedule, right? You're not having to worry about those holes in the schedule, and where are the patients this particular week, right? And then next week it's busy. And so that's a very common symptom. If you're a one location practice or if you're a multi-location practice, there's always some location that's roller coastering, right? It's doing well one week, and then next week it's not doing as good, right? So the key is to have just consistency and elevated patient visits in that clinic. So I love to hear that growth. That's fantastic. And so, for your future, like what are some of your plans to market your practice and grow it into the future?
So obviously I'm going to keep doing the newsletters. That solidified my patient reactivation marketing.
Mhm.
So I finally feel like I don't have to really worry about that so much anymore, because that's taking care of it. And then so recently I upgraded my practice promotions subscription to include Google Ads.
Mhm.
So what I really want to do is start shifting my marketing towards that cold marketing, um, cold market out there, and hope to start growing that so we can start turning more people into reactivated patients,
Yeah.
over time. So that's one thing that I've already implemented. it's early in the process, so I think we just started this month with that program. And simple things like just pushing the Google reviews,
Hmm.
getting a lot of people in just because we have great reviews on Google. They'll research physical therapy in the area and they'll see my Google reviews and they'll say, "Hey, I came in. You had great reviews." So that's the second step I'm going to take, and the third, I'm going to start dabbling a little more into the social media.
Hmm.
There's a lot of research coming out that videos are powerful marketing tools, short little video reels. So I'm going to start working on that a little bit and get try to film some stuff. The technology end is just out of my comfort zone, but you got to do what you got to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. It's also, and it doesn't have to be complicated, right? I mean, the thing is, you you can elevate the brand. But the better it looks, obviously, the better performance you get. But it doesn't have to be, super professional with that. But yeah, you're right. Short form video is sort of the future there um, for social. I know we see that on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. I mean, like the short form video is really exploded. So the more that you can provide useful tips or advice, things on that platform is going to be key. But one of the key things is you've got social, which is people find you by browsing other things. So they're there for entertainment, right? If you think about it, people on social are there for entertainment. It's a discovery thing. They find you, they maybe see that video, maybe they see an ad, like whatever it is there. Google is intent based. So they're looking to fix a problem. So that's where, as a business, you want to command as much as you can on page one of Google. 46% of the clicks are at the top, and the local search sponsored ads there. So you in today's world, you just have to be doing Google ads to be there at the top and be in front of people. But then if you can be in the maps section and then be in that top 3 of the top 10, boy, you're on multiple spots on page one. People go, this place must be good, right? So that's really the key, is command as much as you can on page one of Google for each location that you have in your practice, right? So love to hear those growth goals that you have there. I'm just kind of curious from your side of it. What's been your experience with practice promotions?
I've had a very positive relationship with you guys. I have a team that's assigned to me, and we talk every month, and we see what's working. What kind of effect the newsletters are having, who's clicking through, how many people are clicking through the website, and what can we do better to improve this. So there's constant minor modifications that we're making monthly to improve the visibility of the practice, and just as making a small change in the newsletter or making a small change on the website, or just where things are placed.
Mhm.
um, so you guys are my SEO management, manage my website. I can't say that the website necessarily is a driving force to the clinic, but it complements everything else that's being done.
Mhm.
Um, and between the Google reviews and then people going to the website to check it out once they have that interest, they're finding a great looking professional website.
Mhm.
And so people, when they see that, they go, "Oh, this guy doesn't have like this shoddy website, and it's very organized. There's a lot of content on there. It makes you look big." Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
you know. And it has become like a little bit of a problem because people there's people out there trying to sell you stuff. They see your website and are like, "Oh, look at this practice." Like, I'm getting messages on my chat box from people wanting to sell me, marketing packages and different things, or different phone systems. And one guy's calling me and he's telling me what he could do for my practice. I'm like, "Listen, buddy, I got one office." They're like, "Boy, your website doesn't show that." Website
That's, I
looks like
love it. Yeah,
it's
that's
big
great.
practice.
That's a great testament to having good marketing there, where people think you're bigger than you are. And that
Yeah.
I learned that a long time ago. A friend of mine told me, always promote yourself bigger than you are, because it helps you get to where you want to go, right? And I love that. So So Rich, thank you so much for sharing your advice there and your wins. And so just curious from you, is there any final words of advice to our listeners out there?
Um, my biggest piece of advice that I've learned is be consistent. Find something, find that marketing tool that works for your practice. Like for me, it was newsletters. For somebody else, might be workshops, whatever that is. If you can be intentional with it and be consistent with it, then you'll reap the benefits,
Mhm.
from your marketing efforts. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is
Awesome.
consistency and intentionalism.
Wonderful advice there. Definitely consistency and intentionalism. I love it. Thank you, Rich. Thanks so much for being on sharing your words of wisdom here. Appreciate it. And to all of our audience out there, Neil Trickett here from Practice Promotions and our Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit. Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.